are again back with Mike Blumenthal, Greg Sterling on the Near Memo with our special guest and longtime friend, collaborator, sometime antagonist, Barry Schwartz, who is, everybody knows.
Always a mensch.
Yes, mensch of mensches.
The mensch of mensches.
Seer of seer, prognosticator of prognosticators.
Thank you for having me.
Barry is sparing a few minutes out of his busy schedule writing his daily 1,000 articles to talk to us
actually,
about
and ordering new Apple gear. That's the other thing that's consuming his time right now.
Well, how many boxes do you have in your box room or your box area?
I got rid of my box room.
Did you really?
Yeah, I moved offices, got rid of the boxes. But
How many boxes
the original
did you have?
iPhone, the Apple Newton, those are the Google Glass over here, Apple Vision Pro, which I never use. A lot of course, devices.
Yeah. So just a quick anecdote about Google Glass. So my house was burglarized years ago, and they came in and took all our computers, all of that stuff. And I had Google Glass in a box with the picture of it right on my desk in my office. He left it.
Want that garbage?
They may be crooks, but they're not glass holes, right?
Well, they didn't. I think they didn't know what to do with it, or maybe didn't know what it was, or maybe didn't think there was a market for it, or whatever. Anyway, all right, that's my favorite story about Google Glass. So today we will be talking about a bunch of stuff with Barry. It'll be a little bit freeform as we sort of move from topic to topic. We're going to be talking about an uptick in local review ransom demands. We'll talk about the recent debate about the open web versus is the open web shrinking, declining, or thriving? Google can't have it both ways. We'll talk about the kind of situation of Google now in the wake of the antitrust remedies decision, and kind of the data that has shown that Google's really not significantly impacted by the rise of ChatGPT. And then finally, kind of AI mode, AI overviews, and the future of search at the end. So, Mike, why don't you tell us about the review ransom situation and what's caused it?
Sounds good. So I looked it up, Barry, wrote about this in January of 2025. Google Business Profile launched chat with the ability to add an SMS or a WhatsApp number in the U.S. It had been in Brazil for a year prior to that. With that rollout, we started to see in the forums a number of small businesses coming into the forums who were being threatened by what appeared to be Indian and Pakistani subcontractors who would reach out to them via their WhatsApp number and say, gee, I was hired to add 20 negative reviews to your business. We're going to give you an opportunity to pay us to avoid that. If the business refused, number of negative reviews would show up and then they would pay and they'd get taken down. Anyways, this has accelerated since the WhatsApp introduction in January. It recently was written about in the New York Times, but I was seeing in the forums 2 or 3 of these a week, which is just, I'm a very small sliver of all the posts. There's probably a couple, I can't remember exactly, but there's 1,000 a day or something. So I was seeing a couple these a week. So there's quite a few. So this had been accelerating. Google in inimitable fashion says, oh, we hate spammers. We're doing everything we can to stop them. We catch them most before they even get posted. And we're going to have a tool to fight this particular thing in the future. Goodbye, New York Times. But meanwhile, this is still happening. The only thing a small business can do in this situation is get rid of WhatsApp on your GBP, because that seems to make it easier for Indian subcontractors to reach out to you cheaper, faster, quicker. So if that's happening to you, that was what I suggest. Take it to the forum and we can help you get them removed if the convoluted Google review removal process doesn't do it for you.
Well, historically, I mean, there's a lot of, did you want to say something, Barry?
I want to do an awkward pause after that. So I think
okay. Let's all take a moment to indulge in an awkward pause.
While I take a breath. I didn't breathe through that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, we know historically that most of these review farms are offshore, and India and Pakistan have been centers of this kind of activity.
And you can't blame them. It's easy arbitrage for them. I mean, Google creates this loophole. The blame isn't with the Indian.
Yeah, so it's rational behavior on their part, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's Google's fault.
Totally. Absolutely.
Because they added the WhatsApp feature.
Well, I don't think it was intentional.
They don't have adequate They don't have adequate review moderation algorithmically, and they have, particularly after the fact, have inadequate review moderation by humans. I mean, okay, so some bad reviews get through. It should be easy to get those fake reviews down. It's not easy. I mean, I have a 10-point chart or a list that I have to give to a consumer or business to follow before I can even escalate them, right? It just shouldn't be that hard.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of, I mean, Google has historically relied on crowd, as all these companies have on crowd policing, right? I mean, certainly the whole local guides program is about crowdsourcing data. And so you would think that they would want a process that would be similarly accessible to flag and accelerate the removal of fake reviews.
Well, there is a maps process where you can easily flag it. It doesn't do that much unless you are super high.
Well, what I mean is get them down,
Yeah. I mean, if you are a very powerful editor on Google and you flag them, you sometimes can get them down. But the business process is much more convoluted. You have to do a report, and then you have to wait 3 to 5 days, and you can appeal it. And then once you get the case number, if they still haven't taken it down, you have to take it in the forum, and then I have to escalate it. My escalation, which is automated initially, gets rejected. I then have to manually escalate it. And then I'm dealing with one where the poster's name is Andrew Zuckeroff. And I can't get Google. I've been at this for 2 months now, and I can't get Google to take it down. Andrew Zuckeroff. Now, I'm not sure
that could be his name.
No, I looked. I typed it in the internet. There's only
I'm kidding.
There's only 2 search results when I search for Andrew Zuckeroff. One is the forum post I'm working on, and the other is a YouTube post he made 6 years ago.
So you're saying Google should not have released the WhatsApp feature until they actually come up with a solution that actually works around review?
Yes, review moderation. That's right.
Okay.
Or if they're going to release it, then up the moderation so they can deal with these. They're particularly threatening because these reviews can come in large batches, 10 at a time. They instantly will tank a business's ratings.
Well, see, that's the issue. That's the
which
issue.
is very threatening to these small
right. I mean,
businesses.
Google's dealing with such scale here that they don't. I mean, any individual case doesn't matter to them really, unless it's Trump going to a DC restaurant in which they got
clearly Andrew Zuckeroff hasn't bothered him one bit, but.
No, but I mean, there was a, the Trump just went to some seafood restaurant or whatever in DC,
right, DC, right.
And the restaurant just got hit with just a flood of negative reviews, and they got him down immediately, right? Within, yes. I mean, that's a review velocity thing and plus it's a very high profile case.
Yeah, it's what we colloquially used to call a hand job. Right? I mean, when it's very high profile, Google goes in, they can do it. We know they can do it. It's just some small business in no place USA gets a review from Andrew Zuckeroff or from WhatsApp. It's hard to get them down.
See, I think the real problem is that Google does not care about the impact of these problems on any individual business. But for the individual businesses, it can be, as you say, devastating. And now in the sort of AI era that we're in, reviews are arguably even more important than
better written spam.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's that.
Yeah, I have the opposite problem. I have people leaving positive reviews and saying things that are completely irrelevant about my business. Completely irrelevant, just leaving good reviews. So I try to get some of those down. I'm like, these are irrelevant. And like, sorry, we can't remove them. I'm like, okay, fine, leave them.
Why? Like what kinds of things that are irrelevant?
I don't know. Like you have great food at your restaurant. I'm like, I don't have a restaurant. I do software. I'm like it's weird, but I don't know.
Maybe there's another Barry Schwartz who runs a restaurant.
Well, very likely, for sure.
Is it Rusty Brick? It's Rusty Brick. It's not you as an individual, right?
It's Rusty Brick, right?
Well, you could have the Rusty Restaurant. That could be like a side business that you
don't know
now.
If people want to eat at a Rusty Restaurant, but maybe. I don't know. But it is an issue. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, people have been asking for WhatsApp for their business. I don't use it because I get spam on WhatsApp, so I barely open it up. And my WhatsApp status is I hate WhatsApp. So hopefully that avoids people from messaging me. But I have not tied it to my business for many reasons, mostly because I don't want people reaching out to me on WhatsApp. But you're right.
In Europe, Africa, South America, it's a much more
but a lot of businesses want it. So, but at the same time, there is that review spam, like ransom thing that is a big issue. And it's not just like review spam. It's across link building and other things, across Facebook reviews, everything. It just gives these, I don't know how you don't blame them. I mean, the people who are doing this are to blame. I mean, they're the ones doing it.
They're guilty for sure. It's just that when you create an avenue that's this easy to use, such a low barrier to entry, they're going to enter. That's all.
Well, I wonder if the problem is a global problem. I mean, if this is, in use on Google Business Profiles globally, is that what you just said? Then is it a global problem, or is it really focused on the U.S.?
No, I think the arbitrage is greater in the U.S. because the review is worth more in the U.S. on a dollar basis. So from a ROI on their investment of time, they're going to get the best return in a first world economy. So I would guess that it happens in Europe and the United States, but I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, clearly it's Facebook's problem too. I mean, there's just so
I was going to say
spam.
that. I'm blaming Zuckeroff for this.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, what we anticipate is little or no change in Google's behavior from this. Maybe they'll do something because if there's enough PR pain, Google usually takes some sort of action. All right. So, Barry, since you wrote about it, tell us about the kind of open web, web is thriving, web is shrinking kind of debate controversy.
Yeah, so this was interesting. I didn't think it would blow up the way it did, but it kind of really did blow up. So I wrote about how this guy named Jason Kint, right? Jason Kint. Yeah, he very into like looking over the Google legal documents.
He runs a trade group, doesn't he? Content Next or whatever.
Yeah, Content Next, digitalcontentnext.org. So check that out. It's a nonprofit, non-government organization based in New York City and DC.
Right.
And he doesn't like Google, which a lot of people don't like Google anymore. But that's not the case. So what happened here was, I think a week ago today, actually, Google's lawyers released a document basically talking about web advertising and so forth. But one of the lines was, in the intro paragraph, was the fact is that today the open web is in rapid decline, goes on and on and on. But I'm like, everybody's scratching their heads like, what do you mean the web is in open decline? Just earlier a few months ago, Google's CEO, Sundar Pichai, said web publishing is not dying. There's lots of opportunity there. It's still growing. And then
continue
Nick Fox,
to refer tons of traffic out to the open web, all of that.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing. Keep doing it. And then Nick Fox, the VP of Google Search, is like, the web is actually thriving. John Mueller said the web is thriving. So a bunch of Googlers are saying everything is thriving across the web. And then the Google documents saying the web is declining rapidly. So I write about this. My fashion, basically, Google said this, Google said this, Google said this, and now Google's saying that. That's how I write. I don't have any opinion, really. And then Dan Taylor, the vice president of Google's global ads, responds, Barry, like, you should know this, Barry, like a,
scolding you,
your name
shaming you.
In the preceding sentence, it's clear that Google's referring to the open web display advertising, in quotes, even though Google didn't use that in the quotes, not the open web as a whole. And as you know, ad budgets follow where users spend time and marketers see results, increasingly in places like connected TV, retail media, and more. I'm like, how does that make any difference? I respond, like, tell me how that matters. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, if the web is declining, digital ads are declining with it. It's the same thing. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that they're making a broad statement. They're talking generally about the web, and then it's in the context, the filing is in the context of the ad tech remedies case. But I think it's pretty, they're trying to spin it because they got caught, speaking out of both sides of their mouth.
Right. And then a few days after that, Google's lawyers updated the documents to make it clear. And they said in memorandum, Google, in a handful of instances, used a short phrase, open web, in quotes, when referring to open web display advertising. They're trying to cover their trail. I don't know. I mean, you can't deny the fact that the open web is declining. Less traffic is going to publishers. Publishers are writing a lot less often. At least ones that I'm watching.
Many more paywalls. Many more paywalls.
Yes. These are my favorite websites. I can't get access to them, like Near Media. I have to log in every single time I want to see it and pay them a boatload of money.
That's
I have no more money anymore to pay feed my children.
It's the best.
Barry, we'll comp you a membership.
No,
okay. Craig, would you take care of that?
No, I'm joking. I love to support good writers. Okay. But no, you're right. The Verge, they're all doing this. I signed up. You see, I have a book. See that book over there. That's the Verge book that they gave you for signing up. I bought this. I don't know if it's backwards or whatever. I bought the Verge Guide to Search Engine Optimization.
Don't they just really trash SEOs throughout the book?
This is when they went after SEOs, calling us like snake oil and whatever. Yeah. So I bought it. The only way to get it is to sign up for their year. So they got all the SEOs to sign up for the year. Then I discontinued. But I'm not going to discontinue with Near Media because best thing out there. So
Well, thank you. Thanks for that endorsement.
But you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. The open web is declining because of people you guys do.
And it's
My
declining
website
because
is free.
the quid pro quo between Google taking our content and giving us referrals was declining. And so if we're not going to get referrals out of our articles, then we felt like it made more sense just to target our very niche audience directly, have them benefit. And I
So
think
you're not blaming Google. Are we blaming Zuckeroff? Or no?
He's the one. I'm
I'm waiting for Zuckeroff to leave a review for you on a Rusty Brick.
I mean, he is the inventor.
I love your food, and I'm the inventor of Bitcoin.
Knishes are delicious, or something.
Yeah,
but he did invent the closed web, the gateway. Facebook is all behind the gateway. And Greg, if I remember correctly, you were not a fan of that in the early days.
Of Facebook. Or the
Facebook had everything's behind this paywall.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, AOL was the original, right?
True.
I mean,
yeah.
It was a walled garden. It wasn't a paid walled garden, but it was a walled garden. Yeah. And you had Prodigy, and you had, I'm forgetting the names, but I think that for a long time, my belief has been that you really have to pretend like Google doesn't exist almost. You have to optimize, you have to take Google into account, but you really have to diversify your traffic sources to such an extent. You have to build your brand, and you have to diversify traffic to such an extent that if Google went away, it really wouldn't matter to you. I think that's the only strategy for marketers going forward.
And I think it's the same with reviews. You have to imagine, what would it be like if Google ended reviews tomorrow? Would you stop asking customers, how well are we doing? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? You would continue. You should, if you're a good business, continue to ask customers those questions. And I think it's the same thing, that relying solely on Google reviews is a very short-sighted thing for business.
Google, I used to be a kind of a pro Google. My position was giving Google the benefit of the doubt, defending Google in certain situations when I felt unjustly accused of things. And the company has really changed. I think to some degree you can, I don't want to put all the blame in Ruth Porat's feet or whatever. She was the Goldman person who came over. I think she was from Goldman as CFO, and she started bringing all this.
I thought she was at Dodge Plymouth Stellantis or whatever for a while too. A real cost cutter.
Maybe. Yeah. So she brought all this. Right. So she brought all this kind of efficiency stuff in there. And, I think the culture of the company has changed to a large degree, and it's not her fault. She's symptomatic, I think, of a shift. Google was a public company for however many years before she came on. And I think that the pressure of the public markets and the focus of institutional investors on revenue growth and expense management really changed the culture of the company. And now, Google,
I would suggest an alternative narrative that is that search has been Google's cash cow. They are milking it now more heavily and fiercely than they ever have to fund their Office, fund AI, to fund Office, to fund YouTube, to fund all, particularly funding AI,
workspace,
workspace, right, and so
the cloud business, all of that,
right, and all they're milking search for what it's worth, and sort of it's the sacrificial lamb in their bigger existential crisis and plan to fund AI and all the other stuff. So
right, but none of them believe that.
Cost cutting. I think it's income generating, as they said, shaking the cushions on the couch to get more money.
That's part of a larger cultural shift, is what I'm trying to argue.
Well, but it's also a strategic shift where they're moving towards an AI future rapidly.
Yeah, but not at the expense of ads.
At the expense of search, though, is what I'm saying. So certainly they're going to have other avenues to display ads, Maps, YouTube, Gmail.
What's your opinion about search quality? So I've asked in a bunch of surveys now to people, hey, is Google getting worse or getting better compared to 3 months ago, compared to a year ago, compared to 6 months ago? Is it easier or harder to find stuff? What do you think? And majorities of ordinary people seem to think that Google is getting better, to my surprise. I don't have the data. This is multiple surveys now. I don't have the data in front of me, but basically there's a sort of a majority of people who seem to think that Google is getting better. It's easier. There's either like people who say it's not changed or it's gotten better. The number of people who say it's gotten worse is small, relatively small.
I don't think people know. I think people think they know. They don't know anything. Like, I speak to people all the time and they're
But
like,
perception is reality to some degree for these
it
people.
is, but at the same time, they just, especially with AI, they just trust it. Like, I go to ChatGPT and I get an answer, I'm going to go by that. I'm like, what's the answer? Send me a screenshot and a topic that I know about. And I don't know about a lot of things, but I know about search. And they're like, well, this is what's happening in search because this is what ChatGPT says. And I'm like, so an ordinary person sends it to me. I'm like, that's not true. It's made it up. It's absolutely not true. Like, well, I believe it because that's what search is saying. So I wonder, because remember like a few years ago before AI overviews were out, people were like, search quality is declining. I can't find what I'm looking for. I'm very
Well, that was all over
frustrated.
the web, right? That was all over the web.
And then Google released AI overviews, and it seems like you said, people are happier.
People like AI overviews. They like AI overviews.
They're confidently sometimes wrong. Google does do much better grounding than some other places in the AI space. But I'm thinking maybe because people just like to be told what the answer is, even if the answer might not be right.
And AI overviews have improved. I mean, in our research, when consumers given a local prompt where they don't quite know what they're looking for, they use AI overviews to confirm what they were looking for, what they wanted.
They're on the right track.
They're on the right track. So it's a comfort thing, right? And usually in these local situations, it's not esoteric knowledge. It's like, what do you call a lawyer who does this kind of stuff? That kind of thing. And Google gets those kind of answers.
It helps to some degree with query refinement for people,
yes,
I think.
Correct. I mean, so people do find them, and because they're sort of in the meat of an issue, they're not esoteric and hard for them to be wrong, you know? So in that sense, they're useful.
I guess it depends on the query, but at the same time, I think because of the way AI overviews are written, I think it makes people feel more confident in the response. And that's why people feel that the search results are better.
So you think AI overviews are directly contributing to this perception that I described, that search overall has improved?
That's my gut feeling. I have no data behind it. I'm just saying things because it sounds good, and you can't take it away from me.
Well, I mean, I can say from personal experience that for the past year, I was using ChatGPT much more extensively, and I have recently started using AIOs for the simple answers, right? I just want an answer to a question. I don't want to do search. I don't want to go to a website. I just want an answer. And I have drifted back to Google because it's fast and efficient.
Well, this is what Google wants, right? This is exactly what Google wants. They want people who strayed to ChatGPT to come back and do this AI stuff on Google. Google is in a unique position in the market in the sense that it is the best way to navigate directly to a website. It is the best way to get certain categories of information, like local information, for example. I mean, you can get it from ChatGPT, you can get it from Apple, but you can't get the same reviews information. If you want to go just directly to a website or directly to a business or directly to an article, Google is the fastest way to get there. And I think that's one of the competitive advantages that Google has. And there's nobody out there that's replacing that, that's doing anything that replaces that. You know,
right. You saw that similar web data that was like released by Brody Clark showing like 95% of people on Google versus it's like only 15% of people who are. It was interesting because like people still go back to Google even though they're on ChatGPT, but it's not the same way the other way.
Right. There's a Venn diagram, right? And I have survey data that shows something similar, although it's slightly different, where you've got a ChatGPT exclusive group, and that's relatively small, you know, whatever it is, 12%, 15%. You've got a Google only group that's large, or everybody's using Google. And then you've got an overlapping group where mostly you've got people who are using ChatGPT going to Google for the last mile information, or going to navigate to the website, or going to get the reviews. And I've seen that show up in survey data. You know, I've asked now in multiple surveys, hey, if you can't get what your question answered, you can't get this category of information from ChatGPT, what do? You go to Google. After you can conduct a local search on AI, what do? I go to Google for reviews, business contact details, maps, and directions. And so what we've got is this kind of complementary usage pattern where Google is the indispensable resource. ChatGPT is being used by a lot of people for a lot of things, but it doesn't solve the last mile problem that Google solves. And also people are familiar with Google, right? The map pack or the presentation of results. They know where to go to get certain kinds of information. And there's a variability to AI that sometimes you see a map, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's presented this way. Even AI mode is variable, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think all the data so far, something just came out of Ahrefs, their new like Google versus ChatGPT.com website, if that's what it's called.
Yep.
And it showed that ChatGPT's growth has slowed a little bit.
Yep.
And at this rate, they'll never catch up to Google.
You mean usage or referrals?
I think referrals. I think that's
Right. This, I've seen this a bunch of times. They're referring less traffic to people.
Right. And they don't care. I mean, then nobody's asking like, oh, people care about Google sending referral traffic. Nobody cares about ChatGPT sending referral traffic because it's like less than 1% of your traffic anyway.
But consumers care. Consumers care that they're not getting links. You know, consumers want.
Do they?
Yes, they want links from a result to a website.
So why wouldn't they do that?
Well, they sort of do it. It's not as prominent. They sort of do it. You know, if you do a search and you're looking for the best Santoku knife or whatever, they'll show you the sources.
But aren't they all getting ready for the same thing? Search without a screen?
You mean an AI interface?
Yeah, like maybe it's glasses, maybe it's your AirPods. It's like you're not looking at the screen all day. You're not looking at your phone. Like the phone, like Sundar Pichai said not so long ago, this phone's going to go away in the next 5 years or so on some level.
Well, I mean, I think we'll see additional devices, right? And then additional channels, additional ways to get
And we'll see an
information.
improvement of audio, which, you know, I mean, has been the brittleness of a verbal interface has been its death knell. And it's not just Siri that's crappy, Greg. I mean, Amazon's been crappy and Assistant was crappy.
Google Assistant was crappy. Alexa was crappy.
Right.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm not singling out Siri. They're all crappy.
Yeah, I don't know, Barry. What, you know, I mean, I think that it will be situational, right? There are times like I'm riding my bike, my AirPods are an incredible benefit in terms of information, textual information, and that's now and that's happening, right? Do you want to? I see you have a phone call coming in. Do you want me to? Do you want to answer it? You shake your head and you answer it, or I see you're exercising. Do you want to record it? And I shake my head, yes, or whatever. I mean, or I have a very long text. Here's the summary. Do you want me to read it to you? And so there are situations where those things are happening now, but I think they're contextual. And most of us work in front of a computer, right? Still, and that will happen stay for a long time.
Yeah, the idea that there's going to be one device that supersedes the phone, I think, is wrong. I mean, I think there'll be the Facebook Ray-Bans have basically taken
Apple Vision Pro. People are going to be walking around with it.
Well,
sitting at the computer, air typing.
Yeah, we can have a whole conversation about that.
It's so hard to wear, but honestly, if it was easy to wear, maybe more people would use it.
Well, they're gonna do some version of the Ray-Bans,
right,
at some point, and I think those have their place, provided they don't become surveillance devices all the time everywhere. But I think those have their place. But you're not going to see the phone completely disappear. I mean, I think the more interesting question is, what is the UI of the future for what we do today, which is
for direct transactions, for converting, right?
Not just transactions, but just for information retrieval, discovery, everything.
I mean, the bigger questions are conversions, like how, what's the value of somebody creating content if there's going to be no return on that investment of creating that content? So, do you get somebody to come into a store? Like people thought when e-commerce came out, the stores would die. So Blockbuster died, but did Barnes & Noble die completely? No.
It's back. In fact, it's back.
Right. So, and Sundar Pichai's like, and now we have the whole thing with these integrations with AI agents, like agentic experiences, and how that's going to kill things because you're just going to ask ChatGPT or Google's AI mode or whatever, or Gemini to buy me a new bag of toilet paper because,
that's it's not, I mean, we're far away from that unless these tools.
You need toilet paper. Everybody needs toilet paper.
Well, right. So
but not everybody needs an orange iPhone, and that's the experience that you're going to want to have yourself.
Right. And Sundar Pichai was like, I think all three will be there. You'll still have people go buying on their desktop browser or mobile browser. You'll still have people going to the store and picking up an iPhone in person. You'll still have people probably just telling their AI agents to do the purchase for them if they want to book an airline flight.
It really depends. Really depends on what it is. And I think like I get whenever I invoke Alexa, it now says to me, I've got a reorder suggestion for you. Do you want to hear it? And I always say no, but but
It keeps insisting.
well, but in
Sounds
a
like your wife.
situation where where you have ordered something before, where it's a commodity, where where it's a low cost item, probably no problem. Much faster for me to say, hey, agent, reorder that toilet paper that I've ordered 100 times, or that thing that I've ordered before, or that dishwasher detergent that I always order, where you have confidence in the thing itself, and there's no discovery or no reviews that you have to look at. If it's a higher consideration per purchase, if it's a service, it's not a commodity. You're going to want to look at some information. You're going to want to look at some reviews, and I think that's going to require a different experience than get me the toilet paper. ASAP.
Not if you completely trust what the AI agent is telling you. Like, what's the best EV
It's
I
going
could
to take
buy
a
right
lot
now?
of time for that to happen, though.
I get it, but there is a future at some point.
Well, right. If we talk about the year 2050 or 2060, sure.
So
But I
looking
mean,
forward to
if we're talking about the next three, Silicon Valley and internet prognosticators like to operate in 1 and 3 year timeframes. Essentially
Yeah.
18 months.
exciting
And
times.
yeah, so let's talk about AI mode, AI overviews, and what the future of the Google interface looks like. Tell us about I forget who it was, the Googler who said that we've now got this google.com/AI, and everybody saw it, said, oh, here comes the substitution of AI mode for Google search.
Right. So last week, late Friday afternoon, Google's like, we have a new way to get to AI mode. Go to google.com/AI, which is a big deal on itself. Like, we're making google.com/AI go to AI mode. It's not going to
Right.
Gemini. It's not going to
Right.
like their AI research papers. It's going to AI mode, which is a big deal. And then some guy named Burkov, or Kov, I don't pronounce his name, said, this must be the default. I know it's scary, but it means one more click. We need this to be default, basically. And Logan Kilpatrick, who's basically like
He's like one of their AI chief dudes.
yeah, like a big spokesman, like a product lead on their Gemini and AI. He's like, soon, smiley face. And I'm like, okay. So I got like 100 messages from like the SEO community. Got to cover this. Got to cover this. And then I covered it, saying Google's whatever product
Here
lead.
it is,
basically
the substitution we've been anticipating.
It's not like it's coming out of the blue, because like Liz Reed said on stage at Google I/O, this is the future of search. Google search is the AI is the future of Google. AI mode is the future of Google search. Sundar Pichai said it's going to be incorporated directly into main search. Of course, I didn't think AI mode would be the full interface. I thought it would be incorporated into the main search results as some type of default feature.
Sundar Pichai went on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he said AI mode is basically going to be the bleeding edge of search, and we'll keep it as a distinct thing and move features over into the main search.
So after all that, I wrote about it. And then on Sunday, Robbie Stein, VP product Google search, responded, said, I wouldn't read too much into this. We're just focusing on making it easier to access AI mode for those who want it.
Which is a little bit of a walk back, kind of.
A little bit. And then a little bit the day after, when Logan logged onto his Google machine again, he +1'd it, and then said a little bit later after that, just to clarify, wasn't saying AI mode is replacing main search. As Robbie and I talked about on, I guess they have a podcast called Release Notes, exciting to see more AI mode responses and functionality coming to AI overviews, which is what you get from the main search box. So he's basically incorporating, saying that AI overviews will, which they're currently right now, like letting you dig deeper, dive deeper, whatever you want to call it, whatever, labeling it into AI mode. And Google's basically sticking AI mode labels everywhere. You go to the Google homepage, you click on AI mode, it's the first tab. It's all over the place. And they're using search suggestions and boxes everywhere to get you into AI mode. And they basically want people to use AI mode more often, but right now it's not going to be replacing main search anytime soon, according to Logan.
Yeah, so Miriam Ellis and a couple other people on LinkedIn said, hey, my AI mode tab is gone. It wasn't for me and it wasn't for others, but they were saying it's gone. And I don't know what to make of that. Probably nothing. Maybe
No, it's true. Some people, when AI mode launched fully and there was a tab on the left-hand side, some people were not part of that tab. Google leaves like 1-2% of people as a test group outside of the main.
But this
launch.
is it was there and now it's not, is what they're saying.
I don't think so. I don't have it on one of my Google accounts. I have it on all the other ones. It's just the way Google tests things, I think. I don't think, maybe they expanded that test to remove it more often. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't want to read into one person not seeing it more often.
Yeah, so we've got AI overviews, we've got AI mode. We've got Gemini, which seems to be Google is not positioning that as a consumer experience. And then there's the thing which was really intriguing to me was the web guide, which was a search experiment where they clustered results with headings, and it was kind of like the SERP as a AI organized page, like the whole SERP had been organized. I thought in many ways that was kind of the most promising treatment of, blending of AI and search. I used it a couple of times. I haven't used it really since, but they've got these different experiences out there, and they don't need to do anything because their usage hasn't suffered, but they're going to try and integrate these to some degree. And what do you think?
They're doing what they're supposed to. They're testing the waters. They're seeing what people like. They're seeing what people dislike. They're testing to see how it's being monetized by them, how much money they can make with different interfaces, because their cash cow, which is funding all these things, is as a very big risk of losing a lot of money if they do it wrong. So they're just testing it and seeing what consumers like. Are they coming back? Are they searching more? And are the ads performing on the page? And like you said, they don't have to do anything right now because they're really not losing any market share. They're really not losing any search query volume, and their ad revenue seems to be increasing every single quarter, even though Google was dead and Google has died numerous times over the years.
Although one thing we're seeing in our consumer behavior research, Barry, is where Google is using quasi-dark patterns to drive ad clicks. And we see this mostly in local with LSAs versus the map pack, where consumers are confused about what's a paid ad and what isn't a paid ad in LSA, whether the map pack is paid.
Or it's blurry. It's blurry.
It's blurry. Or whether a lot of people look at the map pack, they see a sponsored one at the top, which looks exactly like an LSA, which has sponsored only at the top, and they think that the map pack is
It's not just local.
sponsored.
The Google's been testing and actually launched mixing ads directly in the organic search results, the pure organic search results.
Sure.
Well, this is not just a test, though. This is the reality, and the reality is somewhat deceptive to a somewhat significant percentage.
Have you used
clients.
Microsoft Bing? Have you used Bing? Bing's labels are absolutely crazy. They're insane. Yeah. You can barely see them. So, I mean, I'm not saying blame whatever. They're all going to do whatever they can to test different things to see how much money they can make. They used to have the ads used to be pure label. You remember the background was yellow and
right. Well, that was in the era when the FTC came down on people and said you have to clearly distinguish ads from organic because it's otherwise deceptive. And they've been backsliding because nobody's gone after them. And this FTC is not going to do anything. So there's probably going to be more integration. What was the situation, Mike? I can't remember where it was, where there was I don't remember whether it was like an organic, more businesses click, like the map pack, and then the more businesses step, more places, and you go into an LSA and you
result, right. You'd be looking at a 3-pack. You'd click more businesses because you didn't want to be doing an ad. You'd click more businesses, and you'd be taken to an LSA list of
LSA only.
LSA only.
Yeah, it's funny. I do a daily show with Greg Finn, and he would be like, "Team paid," because it's like the paid search results are much better anyway, so people just should really get ads anyway. But
particularly in LSA, I mean, consumers prefer the look of an LSA over a map pack look.
Certainly over an organic link. In categories where LSAs exist and you've got organic traffic, LSAs, people just really, it's like a black hole for them, pretty much.
Yeah, no, it's team paid. I agree.
Search well, I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with ads. Ads are valuable content. There's nothing wrong with ads when it's clear that people are seeing an ad, where that's very clear to them. The problem comes when Google paid inclusion essentially sort of inches back toward paid inclusion. So that's the problem. So what do you think is going to happen, Barry, with let's assume, so Google would not have done anything to the search results if ChatGPT had not shown up. They would not have done anything. I mean, they're doing stuff all the time on the back end with the algorithm, all that. But in terms of the consumer experience, they would not have independently introduced AI mode, AI overviews, any of that, unless they panic.
Correct.
And so now they've undertaken this product evolution that they're not going to theoretically go back from. Putting aside the ads question for a second, which is of course central, what do you think the future looks like? AI mode, AI overviews. Do you think the AI mode is preserved as a separate experience? Do you think AI mode comes in and takes over for AI overviews? Do you think these AI organized pages become the norm? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I think I don't know what Google's going to, I think they just keep testing stuff to see what happens. And I do think ads play a huge role into it. So they forget
It's
about ads. I think they're going to only do something where their ad revenue doesn't decline, where it's
well, I mean,
baseline.
you're right. I was trying to sort of focus in on the AI stuff, but you're right. I mean, Google's entire focus now is on monetization, and the consumer experience is really only to support monetization. I mean, Google will deny this up and down, but they care about the consumer experience to the extent that they can keep getting traffic and keep generating clicks, but they're not really serving the consumer. At one point, they were trying to do something. I do believe in the early days of Google, they were genuinely trying to serve the consumer. And I think that that's changed over time.
Right. No, 100%. I mean, we know people at Google back in the old days that there was literally the organic team, I guess whatever you want to call them, was not allowed to talk to the ad team. And now there seems to be like, they have to. I mean, I heard people like, engineers like saying this is not going to happen and talk down ad people on the Google team. It doesn't seem like that culture is still there,
No,
but I don't know. You're right. So I do think ads are going to play a significant, if not the majority of the role when it comes to what interfaces we see in the future from Google. And also, I mean, like you said, Wall Street pushed Google to go forward with AI mode and AI overviews and SGE and Gemini, and Google would have done nothing unless they were pushed to do so. I mean, they were pushed to do so because of ChatGPT and OpenAI. And Google's
Right,
like, we
but
could do that.
also, though, ChatGPT gave them an opportunity to introduce something that really wasn't quite ready for the market with less blowback.
And they took a
right?
lot of flack over that
They
and
did,
hurt their
but
brand for a while.
they were able to do it. I mean, they were fearful up to that point because of hallucinations, which they hadn't really gotten control over.
Yeah, they were fearful of hallucinations, but probably more fearful over like, does that mean that ad clicks will drop if we have an interface that has answers as opposed to, clicks to websites?
well, one of the things that, I mean, people like a lot of things about the AI user experience, the interface. They like the conversational nature of it. They like the follow-up questions. They like answers. I mean, paradoxically, they want links, but they also like that, I can get answers rather than having to go to a website. One of the things that's less important to them is the absence of ads. If you give them a list of like 7 or 8 things and you say, what do you like about AI, ChatGPT? Ads, some people like the absence of ads, but that's not as big a deal as it is, for example, for me. So we sit here and scream about ads, but I don't, in some of our users in our user research, there's a percentage of them. I don't know what percentage it is, but it's a minority group who say, I scroll past the ads. I don't pay attention to the ads. And even some of those people wind up clicking on ads for one reason or another. So, I mean, the public at large maybe doesn't care about the ads issue to the same degree that we do.
No, we don't. But I think that's going to dictate what Google does in the future in terms of how their future interfaces might be with AI answers.
This is why, Facebook in the old days throttled organic reach to force people to buy ads, and it worked. Google's doing a version of the same thing. They've got all these modules of
PMax,
stuff.
AI.
Well, but no, I'm not talking about the ad units. I'm talking about people also ask, people also search for the forum stuff. The pure organic results just kind of are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. The ads, more ads, all these Google modules that generate additional searches. And so I think they're sending a message that if you want visibility, you really just have to, you just have to advertise. That's the only reliable way to get it. Mike, you've run out of energy, it seems like.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I mean,
Do you want me to disagree? I can disagree if you want.
No, don't disagree if you don't really believe it. Don't really believe it. But all right, let's say something slightly more upbeat before we end. What can we think of that's semi-positive to say? Because I'm feeling semi-demoralized right now.
Something positive.
I'm at a loss.
I mean, in terms of like search stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, not just random stuff about like my kid got an A in school or something, but
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the spam, I like Google updates. So the spam update's still rolling out. Hopefully by the time this is aired, it'll be done. This seemed like a big spam update. It seemed like unusually a lot of sites were affected by it.
And did you see a lot of real sites affected by it in a negative way?
Some significant, like legit big sites that probably should not have been affected in a negative way were affected. Usually those sites
Well, that's not a
just
positive
do
thing.
better.
That's not a positive thing.
It's good for the spammers. So yeah, yay
Well,
spammers.
so Glenn Gabe talked about how the Wirecutter, New York Times product review site, the Wirecutter has seen tremendous traffic declines lately, which to me is a microcosm for a central problem that Google doesn't understand content. Google fundamentally doesn't understand content. And so these sites that are offering good content that people want suffer because Google uses all these proxy signals,
Yeah. But that Wirecutter, I think what he wrote was prior to the spam update.
So you think it's being corrected?
I don't know if it's being, I haven't looked. I don't really.
I mean, this
care.
was a recent.
Wirecutter was built. I can't stand, like, I read an article, let's say on wired.com, which is supposed to be about science and, technology. And then they have an article about the best type of plant you should buy, or the best type of bed, or best type of scooter you should buy your kids. And they tested them. I'm like, you guys are supposed to talk about science and they're talking about scooters. Like, a lot of these websites do this to monetize, and that's the goal. They try to make affiliate websites.
But why is that a wrong thing? Why is that a wrong thing? Because
they should stay in there. What if I started writing about how to, I don't know, make a knish, and what the best type of knish recipe
you
is?
might have something good to say about it. You might be.
I might, but probably not, because
knish master.
I don't know. But
I mean, I don't blame all these sites about their affiliate links. I don't, it's a problem when you're committing fraud and you actually haven't looked at the product, which a number of them just kind of created these fake articles that were sort of sounded like they had actually examined something. But I don't blame these publishers for trying to monetize, because they're losing traffic. Their traditional products were destroyed. They can't really make ad revenue to support themselves. They have to diversify revenues. What are you going to do? I think it's a function of the concentration of power that's happened in a few sites that now control everything on the line. Yeah, and so I don't blame them. In the same way Mike doesn't blame the review ransom arbitrage.
Yeah, like Barry said, it's not that I don't blame them. It's that
they're acting rationally.
They're acting rationally in a system that encourages their behavior.
That's right. They're following the incentives in the system.
Behavior. I don't like.
They're following the system has created these incentives, and they're doing it.
I think you're gonna blame Zuckeroff, so I apologize.
All right. I hope they catch Zuckeroff soon enough.
Well, I literally been working on the Zuckeroff problem. I checked, and it's been 8 weeks or 9 weeks where I've back and forth with Google, and they refuse to take it down. And finally, I had to rely, and I don't know if this will work, but I had to rely on a personal relationship with somebody new at Google. I reached out to him and said, could you share this with somebody who can do something about it? I mean, it shouldn't have to come to that. I mean, it would seem to me that an obscene username is an obscene username that Google wouldn't want, the business doesn't want, the consumer doesn't want to see it. It's like, why is there any question about this in their moderation system? How is it they have a moderation system that trusts, because this name has been there for 6 years on YouTube, it is highly trusted.
They're afraid of offending Trump. I think that's got to be the explanation.
So I think it's just their algorithm, because it's been uncontested for 6 years, says this name is legit. I don't know.
All right.
I will update you if I ever get Zuckeroff taken down.
Could you do me one favor? Could you just name this episode the Zuckeroff episode?
The Zuckeroff affair.
The Zuckeroff affair, right?
Or the Zuckeroff case or whatever. All right. Thank you very, very, very much for being on. It's great to have you. And a lot of important stuff we talked about, as well as some silly stuff. And we'll do it again at some future point. We love all your favorable near media commentary. So please keep that up. Let your friends know that you were on this episode, and we'll keep doing our thing in our little corner over here of the world.
I appreciate you guys having me. I do apologize in advance when people unsubscribe because you put me on the show, but that's your fault for having me.
I don't think so. You are a beloved figure in the search world. I don't think anybody's going to unsubscribe.
Thanks. Appreciate that. You're loved too. So
okay.
Thank you all.
All right. Talk to you later. See you next week.
See ya.